less of me and more of God. My sermon is coming out of Matthew 27:46, which says, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Now, in the ninth hour, Jesus cried this out to God, and a loud voice crying this. He said, God, why have you forsaken me? This is the darkest, the loneliest, and the most painful time that Jesus has been through in his life. Now, it's not dark, and it's not lonely, it's not painful because of the physical pain that he went through, which was the beating in the day, the beating in the night, being hung on the cross, but it was because he was separated from God. It was a relationship he had with God. Now, Jesus knew he was going to go through this because this is what he was sent to do. He was sent to be the sacrificial lamb. But for 33 years, him and God had such a close relationship, and this is something he never felt before in his life. So he was experiencing separation anxiety. Okay? So now I'm gonna just stop and just ask you, have you ever needed God so bad in your life that you prayed more, you shouted more, you prayed more, you tired a little more, and he was nowhere to be found? Have you called? Have you cried? Have you prayed? Have you screamed? God, have you said something? Have you even said something out of line to God just so you get a reaction? But he still didn't answer you. Have you said something? Have you just wanted God to just say something to you, but nothing? He gave you nothing. Okay, well right here Jesus is dealing with the loneliness, the confusion, the agony, even the possibility of being angry because God left him by himself. Okay, so why did God reject him? Because Jesus took on the whole sin of the world. And because of that, God had to turn his back on him. God hates sin. God can't stand to look at sin. Okay, so Jesus was pure and holy, but yet he was the one rejected, right? Okay, so now, when Jesus cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? It wasn't for pity, okay? It wasn't because he healed a couple people, brought a couple people back, right? It wasn't because he felt like he deserved something. It wasn't, matter of fact, let me bring it up a little bit more up to date. It wasn't because he put his 10% in tithe. It wasn't because he picked up a stranger on the street and felt like now God owed him something. It wasn't that at all. It was because the relationship he had with God was broken. Okay, now he was separated from God. Okay, so we knew that Jesus and God was close, and we knew that Jesus wanted him to come back. As Christians, we do the same thing. Our hearts cry out in the same way when we feel like God is separated from us. We feel empty. We feel like something's wrong. Like matter of fact, for example, when we do our stuff in the dirt, we do our dirt in the dark, and nothing's brought to light, but me and God knew. But now I feel the separation from him because of my sin. Every time we do our stuff that separates from us from our Savior, we need to cry out, God, come back. Every time our pride, our issues, our habits, our problems causes us to separate from God, we need to fall on our faces and beg God to come back into our life. Jesus has carried all the sins of the world alone, by himself, without God. So brokenhearted, he comes and he says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?